Hi, my name is Victoria Redel, and I'm reading from Paradise, which is one of the 2022 Big Other Book Award finalists, and I'm so happy to be among them. And I'm going to read a bunch of poems. The Book of Paradise deals with the questions of exile and displacement, starting from our earliest displacements and exiles, and moving towards some of the questions that arose in my own family, and then into the larger questions of exile in the contemporary world. I was happy to have some of these poems appear in Big Other, and so I'm going to start there. The Border. There was a gate, and through the gate another garden. Same grasses, clover, gentian violet, and lily, and the dry winds also made those willows sway. Just that rusty gate, the dirt beneath scraped when it hinged open, then shut. And some claimed one side was paradise. Garden. In the first weeks, we already knew this was history, that you'd speak of our nakedness, the flat grasses we wove and slipped over each other. First, there were frills of green leaf, stalks, tips too. Later came wild onion, the sharp tang of shoot and bulb, then peaches. Standing together in sunlight, of course, praise and song. We hardly cared that you would get so much of it wrong, that you would always speak of an apple or claim that one of us was so persuaded by the snake. Darlings, we imagined you. Over and over, how you would break each other, wound this garden. Only then, still licking the dried peach juice sticky down our fingers, did we know shame. Dominion. The animals had no love for us. We did not lie tenderly with the lion, and we had no peaceable gathering with the alligator and the wasp. Nor for a moment did the crow believe we had dominion, and if you heard that caw and seen clouds massing from steady hooves, you would understand. There never was a fall. We stood, we ran. Refugees. In the last days, when he could barely open his eyes, he'd look up from the hospital bed, lift his hand and say, "That's me." And we said, "Yes, Papa, you're right here." "No," he said, jabbing his fingers towards the television, clusters of makeshift tents bent under gusting winds, a child held over the rail of a listing boat. Or he pointed at lines of young men, squatting men slouched against stone walls, sweatshirts tied round waists, a few smoking cigarettes. "No," he said, waving towards men browner and blacker than he. "You think that's not me," he said. "You look again." I'm going to read a poem that I haven't read too much at readings. It's kind of fragmented. It started with lines from actual letters that my father and my great uncle wrote starting in 1947 all the way up until the 1980s. My father was still writing these letters, trying to first find the existence of family members after the Second World War, all of whom had been exterminated, but then trying to manage the property that was left and trying to see if any of that property would be theirs, which it was rightfully so. Both my father and my great uncle at that point were stateless. And so the poem starts from the germ of those letters, but then of course moves into other places and much more contemporary displacement questions. We petition you, sirs, on behalf of our brother who resided. It has come to our attention that what was once our home, there was a forest, there was a house. Behind the forest, a clearing where our mother, on behalf of branches, on behalf of iron veined through hillsides, our brother who was rescinded, the creek ran heavy in, our brother removed. The keys were by the heirs of those below. Please find directions. Where our brother was once, the exact address is. That said, our brother's whereabouts are unknown. Half the family was. Kindly look under the floor. The address no longer available due to where the rock cleaves, the entrance to the dry creek by the raised forest, when the watch repair shop where our father. We understand new occupants are residing on behalf of Moss, the third stair up, according to ordinance, where the board creaks. To all appearances, he was deported and killed by, according to damaged water. The papers whereby the heirs of those who have suffered damages caused, that said my brother owned a house under Title 11 of the War Claims Act, the undersigned, of stateless nationality born in, at present temporarily residing in, as war refugee, as climate refugee, as political refugee, hereby declare. And then moving in some continuation with that, this is a poem that also speaks to this kind of displacement, and certainly this displacement of millions and millions of people around the globe, the displacement through war, all around the globe in the Ukraine war. So if you knew. He wanted to take the muddy stream where he sang with frogs. She wanted to take dawn in the linden tree. They left a reed basket of wind. He wanted the resin of August. She left the feather grass of an evening walk. They left all the tender minutes unbuttoning her blouse. She wanted to pack the folded sun from the linen closet. He wanted to take the shuffle of her slippers on the stairs. She wanted her mother's fingers rummaging through the button box. He wanted the steps' black soil. They left moss between stones, the steel winter light in the room where she sewed, the jiggle of a key in the front door. They left a cupboard of embroidered afternoons. What would you take? If you had a month, a week, an evening, an hour, if there were no one looking, no one saying, don't take that, why take that? What would you take if you thought it was temporary relocation, transient, provisional, short-term shelter? If you couldn't use your ATM card, crack your credit card, cash in your sock, sell your home, get a supervisor on the phone, charge your phone, if you couldn't keep your phone, what would you take if you knew you'd never come back? What would you take if you lost track of the children? Getting close. Because my mother loved pocketbooks, I come alive at the opening click or close of a metal clasp. And sometimes unexpectedly, a faux crocodile handle makes me weep. Breathy clearing of throat, a smooth arm heals on pavement. She lingers, sound tattoos. I go to the thrift store to feel for bobby pins caught in the pocket seam of a camel hair coat. I hinge a satin handbag in the crease of my arm. I buy a little change purse with its curled and fitted snap. My mother bought this for me. That was my mother's. I buy, and then another day I buy something else. In Paris, she had a dog, Bijou, and when they fled Paris 1942, they left the dog. When my mother died on February 9th, 1983, she left me. 30 years later, I'm exactly her age. I tell my husband I'll probably die by the end of today. And all day he says, are you getting close, sweetheart? And late in the afternoon, he asks if he should buy enough filet of sole for two. From a blue velvet clutch, I take out a mirror and behold my lips in the small rectangle. Put on something nice, my mother whispers on the glass. Let him splurge and take you out for dinner. I'm going to read one more, and it's called The Psychic. The Psychic. He said I must pay special attention in cars. He wasn't, he assured me, saying I'd be in an accident, but that for 2 weeks some particular caution was in order, and he said all I really needed to do was throw the white light of Alma around any car I entered, and I'd be fine. And when I asked about Alma, he said, oh, come on, you know who Alma is. You two were first together in Egypt and then at Stonehenge, and I nodded, though I've never been in this life, at least, to Stonehenge. Then I said, shouldn't I always throw the white light of Alma around a car? And when he said, well, it wouldn't hurt, I said, what about around planes, houses? What if I throw the white light of Alma around anyone who might need protection from the reckless speed of driving or the reckless swerve and skid of the world? And the psychic opened his hands, shrugged, up his shoulders. So despite your doubt or mine as to why I'd gone there, to a psychic, and I kid you not, a town of psychics in the first place, right now, as you read this, let me throw the white light of Alma around you and everyone you pass close to today, beloved or stranger, the grocer, the bus driver, the boy on his longboard, the lady you stand silent beside in the elevator. And I'm also throwing it around anyone they care about anywhere in the spin of the world, because we can agree that these days, everywhere, particular caution is in order. And even if unverifiable, the light of my dear sister Alma couldn't hurt. Thank you so much.